It was very much like, okay, I know that I cannot do chemo anymore sort of thing, and so I
Mhm.
remember talking to my doctor and being like, "I I can't do it anymore," and she was like, "Oh, well, you kinda need to," and she was like, "The only," and I was like, "Well, at least I did 1 session, right?" And she was
Yeah.
like, "The only other people who've not completed the 6 rounds, 1 person hasn't, and they didn't make it," and
Mm.
hearing that was, like, crazy, but at the same time, I knew within me that, well, I'm gonna be the one to make it. Why waste my last year of life just thinking about it not going well? I'd
Right.
rather do that and still do everything in my power to heal, but have a good mindset around it, and I'm going to truly, like, embrace this time.
Today's guest is living proof that a rare cancer diagnosis at 23 doesn't define your future. It can actually become your purpose. McKenna was living her best life in San Diego when her body started sending warning signals. Pain, swelling, fatigue. Tests revealed synovial sarcoma, a rare and aggressive soft tissue cancer that most people have never heard of. It was a kind of diagnosis that stops your world. But instead of letting cancer write her story, McKenna became the author. What got her through wasn't just medical treatment, it was her mindset, her ownership of her healing, and her refusal to be defined by what happened to her. Well, I'm Thomas, a plane crash and burn survivor, and I started this podcast because I know that feeling all too well. I wanted to create a space where people who've been through it or who are currently going through it can find ways to overcome their own adversity and learn how to move forward. If that sounds like something you need in your life, please consider hitting like, subscribe, and share this episode. You're exactly in the right place. But in this conversation, we talk about what it felt like to get her diagnosis, how she rebuilt her life, and why she's so committed to helping others recognize their own warning signs. So enjoy McKenna's story. Thank you so much for being here, McKenna. I just really appreciate it. From the moment I met you, too, you had this lightness and bubbliness to you, and I just would have not guessed you had gone through what you went through. And just talking to you more, I'm just like, man, what a powerful story, but also like what a light you are to overcoming something that's super hard.
Thank you. That's so sweet. And same to you, obviously. Like every room you walk in, everyone just like immediately is
No,
more energized, and I've seen it. So I
awesome. Well,
appreciate you having me.
I'll take that. Thank you. I don't want to get sad, but we were kind of, before even recording, talking about some of the things we experienced, and we were both patients at UCSD. But can you take us back to, your cancer diagnosis and everything you experienced in that moment? Because I can't imagine. It just sounds so hard.
100%. I think so. It was back in what, 2023, end of 2023.
It's not that long
It was
ago.
not that long ago, and that was just like the start of it. I was at this beach, to go back to like the very beginning,
Hmm.
and I was in Laguna going through the waves, and I got stung by a jellyfish, and then it was just like, okay, stung first time, it was kind of cool. And then like 2 weeks later, I
Yeah.
just launched my company Hempress, and it was like very stress inducive time, and I went
Mm.
on a run, and I was on the phone with my mom and sister while running. I was ultra multitasker.
Good for
And
you.
thank
Yeah, that's hard
you.
to do.
Yeah, like, you know how the military people sing while they run? It was kinda like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I get this, like, shooting pain in my ankle and, like, my whole leg, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" And I thought I broke something, and then
Mm.
later, my leg just started, like, swelling a lot, and I was like, I looked it up. Oh, it's a delayed reaction to a jellyfish sting, obviously,
Mm.
because that's what MD said.
Right,
And then
right.
I do, like, the Tdap test, at my with my primary, and they basically check for, like, a blood clot too, because it was just swelling, like, beyond what's normal,
Wow.
and but the blood clot came back negative, and then I went through, like, so many series of tests and was treated for a blood clot, because during a ultrasound, they were like, "These are the 2 hugest blood clots we've ever seen," and I was
So
like,
yeah. So they
"Okay."
did find some, and at this moment, you're like, "Oh, it's a blood clot. That's what's happening."
Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
like, I go on blood thinners and just kind of going through that process, and then, nothing was happening though. The swelling wasn't going down, and it was kind of like two times the size of my other leg, and it was really
Oh,
hard to walk at that point. We're like, I think it's something more. So
right.
advocating for a lot more scans and kind of calling every day to get any
Mm.
movement done because the whole system's very bombarded with so many people needing help.
Totally.
And so,
And it's just yeah, and it's just slow and there's
yeah.
a process like you have to get your primary to recommend you to someone else. If you gotta,
Mhm.
that's why it's like it's nice to have a PPO, but then it's expensive.
Yeah.
Or like for me, it was like my accident was workers' comp, and that's
Mhm.
a whole other thing because somebody has to approve what you think you need and blah blah blah. So yes, you're at this moment for yourself though.
Yeah, and it's like that whole rigmarole for sure that you're probably
It's a
not
great
trained
word.
in. And like the workers' comp, it's no one really trains you of like, if you get injured on site for work, this is the steps you take and
True,
all of
true.
that stuff. And I
I
know,
mean, HR, I guess, for some people does do that, but again, HR is normally to protect the company, not to
yeah,
protect you as an employee.
totally.
And yes, so there's various medical systems where we're talking about here, but I want to jump into like what happened with you. So you're trying to advocate for yourself,
Yeah, and then
and
I get some further scans done, and I remember it was a Saturday night at midnight. I was, like, living in PB, and I had just gotten home from some fun event, and that was
even with the
during
swollen leg, you're
yeah,
like out partying and stuff.
100%. It
Okay.
was during my, like, go, go, go era where I was just busy, packed schedule all the time,
Yeah.
and then I, like, check my chart because like, a notification pops up, and
Hmm.
it's like, "You're, but yeah, I guess I forgot this part, but we did it wasn't the blood clots after all, they did a scan and there was a mass blocking the veins, and so that's why
Oh.
it was looking like a blood clot, and so I got a surgery that extracted that mass, and after the point of, like, my doctors being like, "What I don't know what it is, like, blah, blah," and so they
Yeah.
removed it, and then that night, I get a notification, it's like, positive for synovial sarcoma, and my roommate at the time was a vet, and I was like, "Hey, do you know what this is saying? Like, I feel like it's wrong. Is there any
Yeah.
way?" And I was like, "Well, just because the it says like it's cancer, like it doesn't mean I have cancer. It's just like, oh, that the
Right.
tumor had cancer." Like kind of playing all these mind games.
So that's what you were kind of telling yourself at that
Yeah.
moment. Okay.
And I
Yeah.
definitely believed it too because I'm like, I don't know how these things work, but I've seen a lot of movies and I was like,
Right.
do they ever say? I don't know.
Yeah, because in the movies and TV, it's like you have cancer, but
Yeah.
they. I mean, also, I hope they wouldn't say that to someone, but you also need to tell the truth. And so, synovial
Sarcoma. Yeah.
sarcoma
So it's
was
like
what popped up.
a
Okay.
cancer of the soft tissue. And so it was like right in my hip slash groin was where the tumor was.
Mm,
And it was like very much denial in the beginning of like,
yeah.
nah, like we're good. We'll just get that out of there, like all of that stuff. But
Wow.
since they didn't know it was cancer in the beginning, they didn't know to take like the positive margins or like to take more than just the
Mm,
tumor out. And so when you extract it like that, it almost like facilitates in the spreading of the cancer because now you've opened up the boundaries and barriers of this tumor. So
wow.
it had positive margins, so it had spread and there's my lymph nodes and all of that stuff. And it was just like a whole it definitely felt like a movie, even though it's
Mm-hmm.
less cinematic because someone wasn't like, "You have cancer," but
Right, right,
this
and
app on my phone did.
yeah, so you find that out, denial, I guess, immediately sets in. Um, where does it go from there? Like, yeah, because I know eventually you go on this amazing trip to New Zealand, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so after that, they're like, "Alright, this is the treatment plan," like, I meet with oncologists, they're like, 4 to 6 rounds of this red devil chemo, so it's, like, the most crazy intense chemo you can get on the market,
Wow.
and then after that, do radiation and just, like, blast the area, and essentially, like, burn it on the inside out, and then
Mm,
another limb saving surgery where they would just take as much as they could from that whole area so to like um take away the risk of having to amputate.
yeah.
And I mean in my head I was like, all right, that's 6 months, and then that's 9 months. I'll be back to work, and I'll be back healthy in, like, a year and a half. Easy, I can do that, and it
I
just
love
felt
it.
like so boom, boom, bam, it's gonna be over, and everything's gonna go back to normal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not
Yeah.
laughing at
No,
like the
you
situation because
can, anytime.
I'm sure it's really scary, but the way you're describing it, it's like it's funny because I guess I had that a little bit in my mind too in the hospital because I was so independent and I was
Yeah,
so just I felt like I had all the ability in the world to make whatever happen I could make it happen.
yeah,
And then I couldn't like get out of bed and then I couldn't like talk, I couldn't move. And I was like, whoa, this is all of a sudden this realization of like, oh, this is really bad hit me. And that was really hard for me to take because to your point, everything was kind of like boom, boom, bam, I can do this.
yeah,
Like I'll set it up. Oh, it's not working. I'll fix it. Oh, I didn't run a marathon, but in my mind, if it's like, if I wanted to, I could have just done it, you know?
totally. Was there a
Yeah.
moment where it actually finally hit you that it wasn't gonna be so easy? Like, do you remember that switch?
Yeah, I can't like pinpoint it, but it was definitely in the first hospital.
Yeah.
And I had the trach in my throat, and my dad was trying to do so. I need my dad to do something. And so they made this board of all these different commands like water, like scratch or whatever, like
Mm,
simple things. And I couldn't really point to it and I couldn't tell him what I needed. And I
mm,
was like, oh my God, like I can't do anything. And it was
yeah,
just like, yeah, talk about like ego death. Like instantly I was like, I'm, a baby, like less
mhm,
than, a baby. I'm so helpless right now.
and trapped, is it what it
Yeah,
sounds like too?
totally. Yeah, I kind of associate those things differently because in my mind, that's a different mental health disorder. But
Right, right.
yes, to your point, exactly.
Yeah.
So what about you? Where was that realization?
Oof. I feel like, once I started the chemo, it was like then I realized, "Okay, this is gonna go a lot different than what I thought."
Mm,
So, I think that was the moment.
okay. So you kind of held off on most of the chemo though before you went to New Zealand, right?
Yeah, so basically it was like, "Okay, this is your treatment plan, but before we do that, a consultation happened where they're like,
Yeah.
if you wanna ever have, like, your own kids, it might be time to do fertility preservation." And
Mm.
I was like, "Oh, I haven't even thought about kids, honestly, like, I'm not even sure what I want or,
If
like,
you if you want
yeah,
kids
all of
or
that
how
stuff
to
because I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just got diagnosed with cancer. I can't really think about my life or like all that far in advance. And so,
totally.
but to do the fertility preservation was right around the holidays. We're heading around like November, December at this point.
Mm.
And so I knew that it was going to take a couple weeks after the fertility preservation to then do like have the office be open for all of the chemo, whatever. And so I saw this window of time where I could take a life-changing trip just in case things didn't work out, and I've always been of the mentality of, like, live like you're dying anyway, and
Mm.
so up until this point as well, I was so grateful to feel like, you know what, worst case, if I don't make it, I do feel like I've lived a life that I feel really at peace with. Like,
Mm.
I've done so much, and I've traveled and started a company and gone through other adversity, have spent time with, like, family and friends and, like, just
Mhm.
bucket list crossing off that really it made me more chill about the whole thing a little bit,
Yeah.
but there's still and then it was like, "Okay, to-do list aside, why do you want to live?" And that was, to experience more and to make an impact and, like,
Mhm.
to just turn over every rock on this planet, and so that's what
Totally.
this trip symbolized of, like, before going on this, I wanna do one more thing where I'm in I have a whole body, I'm,
Mhm.
like, able and all of those things, and it was like a celebration of life during that time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you said about the peace too, because I think there was a moment. I've talked about this before, but it's like I had a moment where I was in the hospital. I did think I died. I was like I was in this medically induced coma, and I couldn't. It felt like I was just awake, but just
Mm,
seeing the craziest stuff. But I remember that moment. There's definitely like a specific moment where I thought I was dying, and to this day, I tried to explain this, like the amount of peace I had about what you
Mm.
said, like the things I had done in life,
Yeah.
I knew I could have made a better impact. I knew I could have been a better person, but I'm like, you tried hard, you tried to be a good person, you like loved as much as you could. There was this piece of like, you did it, like you can let
Yeah.
go now. And it was to this day, like it's like the most amazing. I've never felt anything like it.
Mm.
And then coming back to what you were saying, like it's like, oh well, you're alive now, so like deal with this.
Yeah.
Was just like, what?
Yes.
Yeah. And then I'm like, wait, like I'm missing fingers now, and like, wait, I can't. It's hard to walk, and like everything's sore, and like, so man,
Yeah.
I just so get that. And I appreciate you sharing that because I just feel like I can super, like, I can just really relate to that. And
Totally.
I can also relate to like why you'd want to go on this trip because it's like,
Yeah.
who knows what the future holds? Like, let's do it.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
I went for 3 weeks to New Zealand with one of
Wow.
my best friends, and we just, like, literally took a truck and camped around the entire country, and it felt so good to be, like, at every moment making a decision of, like, I'm doing this just because I want to and, like, nothing else, like, that feeling of presence, that, like,
Mm,
in the moment presence, that it was on a layer of, yeah, it was a layer of, like, presence that I've never experienced before, I guess,
yeah.
and I'm sure you felt that too.
Oh yeah. 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 It's funny because like we're kind of the feelings are the same. Like they really are. Like the situations for us, are so different. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think that moment of presence though hit me when I got out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And once I was a little better,
Mm.
because all I wanted to do was not be in the present.
Yeah.
And, you know, I I don't know, were you experiencing pain when you were in New Zealand or
Well,
was
I hadn't started any of the treatments yet, and
okay.
so the only pain I was experiencing was from the leg swelling and, like,
Mm,
having to, I don't know, I was, like, wearing these, like, this thing to keep my leg together essentially, and so
yeah.
there was definitely, like, the leg pain, but it was way more emotional of, like, kind of that unraveling that already started, from my
Mhm.
interior, my emotions, my spirituality, all of that stuff that was starting to, like, crack open, and that
Yeah.
was a layer of feeling that was different.
Yeah. Okay, so that's I think where we're different in the timing, but still experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because like I was in so much pain from the jump of the accident,
Mhm.
I wanted to like not be in the present moment as much
Yeah.
as possible. And I was big into meditating before. I was a runner like you. I would go out and run, and that's how I kind of like would calm myself down. And then when those things weren't available to me anymore, I had to find new ways of trying to think. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy and started just being able to kind of not necessarily reframe, but also just accept what was that I was able to become more present. But I think, I think you're experiencing this natural moment of presence, which is so hard these days. And it's a beautiful thing. Like it really, I feel like it just makes you feel, like the world is beautiful, like the world is abundant, like
Yeah.
you are abundant, you can do anything, and like how special moments are. And I think it's really amazing that you got to experience that before things got really tough.
Yeah, that 'cause that
Yeah.
you didn't get any sort of warning as far as, like, what
Right.
was to come, and I feel like I did have this window of time to, like, kind of prepare myself for as much as I could, and I
Yeah.
know you said that you didn't have, like, the regrets necessarily, like, and you.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Regrets. More just like, did I do everything right? And
Mm.
while it was so crazy for me, it was like I looked over all these experiences in my life and I was like, you did that pretty good. You didn't do that good. You did that good. You didn't do that. Why didn't you speak up? And like I felt immense amount of
Mm.
guilt about it. But when I thought I was actually dying, that moment I was like, you're going to the white light, it's done. There was so much peace. And it was like, you
Mm.
tried your best. You're a human who's having a human experience and you did try your best. And then I had peace about it. But I think for me after, then it was like, you better, maybe I get too political now. Maybe I say things a little bit too abruptly, but it's because I also know I've had so much regret about not doing things
Mm.
when I thought I was going to die that it feels like I have this urgency or this compulsion now to just get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did that look like just flashing moments of, "Oh, this is where you messed up," or whatever? Like,
K-
how did that actually come to life?
Yeah, kind of. Sorry, and I don't want it to take away from what
No,
you're
there's
experiencing.
a
Yeah, I know, but I would definitely want it to be more about you
Okay.
and your experience. But yeah, it was kind of these like, and not like flashing in and out, but it was just like jumps to different points in my
Mm.
life. A situation in middle school, a situation when I was a little kid, and they weren't in chronological order, right? It was just like moments through my life, like a time that, I thought I got bullied, a time that I didn't speak up for someone, a time that I really wanted to say something here and I didn't because I was nervous or I was, afraid that they were going to be like, I don't know, criticize me or something. And then waking up and not being able to speak for like months, that feeling of I have so much to say and that I can't say,
Hmm.
it just was like a pressure cooker in me for months. So you have these moments, taking it back to you, you have these moments to prepare. What is coming up for you in these moments?
Well, in this preparation, kind of like dreamy, oh, traveling, New Zealand, all these things, it's like on the surface really wonderful. And then having these like slight reminders of this thing that's looming over me and this future of scariness that lies ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm so different now, but at that point I was a shove and avoid kind of person. So when it leaked through, it was like a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
And I do remember my friend Haley, who I was with, would invite me to go deeper emotionally of like, hey, you don't have to
Mm.
act like everything's okay. Like, what does it look like if you actually just admit any sort of emotional or physical pain that you're in rather than masking and doing a facade for everyone to make sure you're okay to everyone else, like all of that stuff. And she really
Yeah.
pushed me to kind of allow myself to admit to any negative feelings as an overly optimistic person in a way.
Mhm.
Not that there's I'm definitely still an optimist, but at that
Yeah.
point it was like bridging on the side of still denial.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she was
Denial and
bringing me back to earth a
avoidance.
little bit, and I think that helped. It helped with the drop off of okay, now it's real. Like I think if she wasn't there, then it would have been a even bigger transition of
Mhm.
realizing the future that was ahead.
Right.
So
I'm
yeah.
so curious about it. Like, what did it feel like embracing some of that, as somebody who would avoid or like try to look at the positive more than the negative in that situation?
Yeah, it's a good question because it felt like a lot of fear of as soon as I open just a little bit of these bad or low vibration feelings, it's gonna
Mhm.
take over and I won't be able to get out of
Get it
it. And
back. Yeah.
there was already because it was like, yeah, I was overly optimistic, but behind the scenes, I was struggling with a lot of deep depression that I would not tell anyone about. And so it was really scary to be like, oh, there might be a little more that's lying underneath. And if I leak it out, it's going to all spill out and I'll never be able to come out of it.
Yeah.
And so it was,
You can't put the toothpaste back in
yeah,
the
exactly.
yeah, container.
Exactly. So I think just felt like even the smallest little admitting the smallest little doubts or whatever felt like such a big feat because it was all of
Mm.
these steps to go through to just get to that little, yeah, maybe I'm uncomfortable. And not saying, but everything's fine. Just maybe I'm uncomfortable. Because I've always been of the person of being comparing myself and my traumas to other people, invalidating my own experience all the time. Well, at least I'm not like that person, or at least I didn't go through this. And so be grateful. Like I'm
Yeah.
being so hard on myself in that way. And I'm like, okay, that's not helping anyone. Like just
Yeah.
let yourself feel.
Yeah, if it didn't take me like 36 years to meet you, I would feel like we're twins because
Yeah.
I know exactly the same thing where it was always like I would do that too. I'm like, well, other people have it worse, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
Or, I don't want to talk about how I'm feeling sad today because other people, like they have less available to them or they're growing up in harsher conditions. And yeah, and I would kind of diminish what I was going through because I didn't want to seem like a complainer or a Debbie Downer, or also I just didn't feel like mine was as valid as other people's.
Do you know
So
why that started? Like the origins of why you did that?
let me ask you that. Yeah, I mean, I think I have an idea, but I want to hear where that comes from in you.
I think maybe like over like overcompensating for not wanting to be ungrateful and not wanting to be a complainer, and in realizing and taking that too far, and
Mm,
also like growing up around some people who were very down bad, and then being like, well, I don't have space to complain because I don't have space to like showcase because I'm witnessing these things that are on a whole nother plane,
right.
and also like uh, people I guess having like a lot more negativity, and then me feeling like I need to make up with for it with the positivity to
Right.
restore balance, and
Hmm.
that muscle got built so much that it became overpowering.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, we really did. We kind of lived the same way. I totally was that person too, where, whether it was, I mean, my mind's going to thinking about like work. When I got into the
Mm,
professional world, there was all these people who were negative and they were really like bummed about certain situations or even the smallest inconvenience. And I thought I had to counteract their negativity with my positivity. And you're right. I think that becomes a muscle. It's a good thing in a lot of ways. I mean, science will even show that being more positive about things is healthier. You get better results out of it than being negative. But we're also human. We have to acknowledge that some things do suck, some things that are hard. And especially what I know now, to your point, not invalidating what we're going through.
yeah, because
But
and then it turns into suppression
right.
versus just positivity. It's like because we're ignoring something that's there
Mhm.
versus just feeling the positivity, because then that suppression manifests into all sorts of weird things.
Totally. Yeah. And then for me, growing up, I was always a pretty happy go lucky kid, but there would be moments where I'd kind of explode and I get really mad. And yeah, and that's not healthy either. That's not a good way to go about it. So, okay, you go on this amazing trip, you're starting to confront these tough emotions. What is it like at the end of the trip and then coming back to, I guess, quote unquote, reality?
Yeah. So coming back, it was like, okay, well, I used all the points that I had accumulated because that's how we went on the trip. It's like using all the points, using all the miles that I've accumulated for this trip down the line, and relying on friends in New Zealand to help us like where we're staying, or like borrowing the truck, all of these things.
That's
And so
cool.
just using my resources to go on this trip, but and then like coming back in like and being like, okay, now it's time to be resourceful in other ways of I need help basically to go through
Mm,
all of this process. So I start chemo, and it was like I was like week in the hospital, 24/7 infusion, over and
wow.
out. That was the plan. And then I was like walked in this beautiful, it was honestly a beautiful hospital room that I had all to myself, big TV, beautiful view. And
Wow.
I was like, this is so much better than what I thought it'd be, honestly. And I like lay down, and everyone's so nice checking on me, all these things. And then then I see the people come in with the full on body, like hazard material, like
Oh
can't
my God.
even wear, they're completely like bubbled like an astronaut, and handling this bag that's of fluid that's gonna go inside of me where they can't even breathe it. And I was
Right.
like, what's happening? And then
Oh my
it was
God.
like starting the infusion, and it was okay. But by day 3, it started to go really downhill, just like the amount of pain. And like I still remember the like internal, like the deepest itch that I've ever had, of like my whole body
Mm.
was like itching, but like a burning itch that I could not scratch.
You're right.
And it was like after, honestly, I would anytime something chemo related would come up, I would PTSD have the
Mm,
itch come back, even
right.
though it
Wow.
was like a phantom sensation. And then it was just like the constant nausea of like that feeling where you're about to throw up, and
Mhm.
like all the like tingle and like the
Mhm.
dizziness, whatever that feeling, but and then sustained for days. And it was just retching, and now like I was just like this
Oh.
whole thing. But that feel it was like I hate being nauseated, I hate being
Mm.
like I would choose another type of pain over like nausea, because it's
Yeah.
just like I don't like the never ending about to, but nothing's happening since I don't know. I just
Yeah, yeah,
can't get
yeah.
over it.
I've had some like wild nights where you get in that and you're just like,
Yeah.
and You're right. That's just the worst thing ever, man. Oh
But
my
it was
gosh.
interesting too, because in my mind, I was like, I was here, but later on, like after I just I can't even remember the past like the last couple days. Like some people
Mm,
I know visited me, but I don't even
I can
remember them
remember.
really being there.
Wow.
And it's a function of just like the medicine giving you like a chemo brain and all these things. But
Totally.
it was very, very clear on the last day. And I was just like, I'm never doing this again. Like
Mm,
so I will never ever do this again. And that's what I told myself. And but in my cancer community and my doctor, they're like, all the pain you experience, all the uncomfortability, you forget before the next session because you get about like 3 weeks of recovery before the next round
mm.
to like have your body come up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But my levels were completely falling. I was not responding. No one responds well to chemo, but like
Right.
all of my everything was just at zero.
Oh man.
And I was like, there's no way I'm forgetting this actually.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. So did you remember it? Because like
Yeah.
you did. Okay.
I did remember, and I even so it was like time to schedule my next session, and
Mm,
because it's like it's not even like you go through the chemo, it's all bad, and then you go home and you can recover. It's like you go home and it's still horrible, and like I
yeah.
quit working and because I could not function, like
Yeah.
let alone anything, and I was like, I don't know how people do this, or if they have kids, or if they can't
Right.
quit or something. Like there's just no way, and I couldn't get out of bed or think or anything. So it
Right.
was it was very like, yeah, I'm not gonna forget, and I need to find another pathway.
Mm,
And at that point, I was talking to one of my friends, and she sent me this like Instagram like influencer essentially in the more alternative
mhm.
space, and
Like a holistic
a
approach. Is that what
holistic
it is?
approach.
Okay.
And it just I remember the videos of this woman who was healing from another thyroid cancer, and
Mm,
there was these shots of everything she tried, and but she was like had this light to her still that I knew mine had completely diminished. I was on steroids and all these things, and my face was all swollen, whatever. And she was like clear and like trying, like she just seemed so healthy as she
yeah.
was moving through cancer. And I was like, I want that. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's what my healing is gonna look like. I want that. Like, and
Yeah.
so that was the pivot to I want to now try everything else because this isn't working for me. And I completely respect every pathway that someone takes because
Mhm.
I know that the only the individual knows how to heal themselves. And for that
Mm.
moment, for me, it was like, oh, well, I need to throw the kitchen sink at it and actually try everything.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. You're right. It is like medical recommendations are tricky, and I absolutely believe doctors. I respect them. I respect all the hard work and all the training, but there is a certain point where you have to trust yourself, and it sounds like you met that moment when your friend sent you that influencer. I definitely had moments, and I became a lot bigger advocate for the medical care I needed. I was like, I'm not doing this type of treatment anymore. I'll continue to do this, but I'm not doing that. And it's weird because we're also not taught how to talk to doctors or how to talk to them about like what we feel like we need. And it's a scary thing also because you're like, what if it doesn't work? What if I feel like this is what I need and then it doesn't work? But I love that. I also want to like shout out because is it the same friend that you went on the trip with who sent you that video?
No different one that wasn't
Wow.
even living in the state, but she just knows me and
Mhm.
knows that I was very open to people sending different ideas because some people are going through treatment. They don't want like the outside
Totally.
ideas and whatever. Have you tried this? Whatever. So, but I was very like, you know what? Send anything and whatever sticks, I'll take.
Mhm.
And
That's
at
awesome.
at that point, it was very like, okay, I know that I need to try something different, but I don't know where to start yet.
Right.
And relying on community, it was another friend had come into town and stayed with me during that time, and he was like, I'm in this natural healing group chat, and he was like, there's this one guy.
As one normally
I
does,
know.
like
And he
that's
was like,
crazy.
there's this guy that I think you should talk to, whatever. And there was definitely oncologists incredible in their specialty, and they know how to kill cancer and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And there's a need for broader quality of life as you go through this, as in
Totally.
quality of life as a holistic perspective, all
Mhm.
of these things. And so that's what I felt like I was missing at that point.
Mm.
And so this like healing coach came into my life and helped me move through one of many of my modalities that I ended up trying, but like Joe Dispenza, m-
Mm.
inner work, and like the healing meditations and all of these things, that there are now significant data behind it working. So like
Yeah.
UCSD has partnered with the Joe Dispenza
Mhm.
organization and has attached like the science and the numbers to the seemingly abstract and
Right.
mystical, and this
Yeah.
partnership has been like so wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And I, at first looking at the data, was in a skeptic, and I was
Yeah,
like,
totally.
well, does that work? Like, whatever. And
Right.
overcoming that and being like, there's the science behind it. And I, at any time, can decide if it's working for me,
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah. Or if you're, I guess, willing to stop or feel like you need to stop doing that, that
Yes.
option is there. I love it because you just you were very open to the possibilities. And I think, especially when I look at people who have not gone through something as traumatic, or, everybody has their own trauma and hard things, but this was, I give you so much props because it's so scary. And your openness to just try to explore in this moment that felt, like the world feels like it's closing in on you, and yet you still allowed more of the world to kind of give. And I
Yes.
think that's a very tricky thing to do. So I give you so
Mm.
much props on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how much of that do you start taking in as far
Yeah.
as like the holistic approach here? And are you doing this with chemo? Are you completely not doing that anymore? How much of it has now just in terms of your treatment has just gone to the holistic approach?
Yeah, I mean, it was very much like, okay, I know that I cannot do chemo anymore, sort of thing. And so I
Mhm.
remember talking to my doctor and being like, I I can't do it anymore. And she was like, "Oh, well, you kind of need to." And she was like, the only, and I was like, well, at least I did one session, right? And she was
Yeah.
like, the only other people who've not completed the 6 rounds, one person hasn't, and they didn't make it. And
Mm.
hearing that was like crazy, but at the same time, I knew within me that, well, I'm gonna be the one to make it. And
Wow.
choosing that, and then also being like, okay, conventional, alternative, merge them. And so I did proton radiation. And so proton radiation is different than regular radiation because it just targets the inner. So normal radiation goes all the way through the body.
Right.
Proton stops at right around where they're targeting.
Mm.
And so it's a little less damaging, but it's a lot more complicated and all these things. So that
Mm.
was like the conventional route that I still took. And on top of that, I did RSO, so Rick Simpson oil. It's a branch of like the cannabis plant that's like very intense, but
Okay.
it has been used very anecdotally to help people move through a cancer diagnosis. And
Yeah.
then I did ozone therapy. So that's
Okay.
like it's ozone, so it's like just O2 going in your body and like strengthening the immune system,
Mhm.
and then like high dose vitamin C
Wow.
IVs going in my body, and then complete lifestyle and diet changes. So I followed the Chris Wark, Chris Beat Cancer
Okay.
cookbook. And so he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and he just changed his diet and lifestyle and then eradicated his diagnosis. On top of that, doing all of these different like mushrooms, antiparasitics, like kind of like interesting low visibility gene therapies
Oh, wow.
and honestly anything. I was like, one of these gotta work. Like, and if I do all of them, my odds will be higher. That was my math.
Yeah. So, okay, what are you telling yourself as I mean, it sounds like you said you knew you're gonna make it. Um, was there any doubt that sets in? Is there any
Mm.
like, I don't know if this is working? Or I guess I want to like kind of dive into the thoughts that are going on here.
Mm, yes. And so I would say Rick was like my natural healer, right? And
Mhm.
he really helped with my whole mentality behind everything. And I
Could
still
you sh-
remember,
could you share some of that? Like,
yes.
yeah. Okay.
And so that one, because like Joe Dispenza, and he works off of his like kind of
He's his own
framework.
program or something? Yeah,
Yeah, and
okay.
so in that, it's imagining and visualizing and feeling the healing before it happens. And so
Mm,
really like a lot of meditations of just stepping into that future self that is completely free of disease,
mhm,
and go beyond that of just
mm.
pure health, and like embodying that to every cell in your body to tell your cells what direction it's going to. Like just
Yeah.
as we like lift an arm, we can also kind of inform our body of what we want to go to and get to.
Mhm.
And that was like the I had to like live in this fantasy world and this like other dimension in a way to like to address my and
Yeah,
change my fate in a
yeah,
way.
yeah, to just address your needs and
Yeah.
where you wanna be, but it's funny that you were talking about this because I was literally just reading something yesterday, and there's another podcast I listened to, that is about, like, just being positive, a positive mindset, which, I feel like for me was the most important thing out of all my recovery, but it is more about just rather than trying to speak something into existence or trying to create something in, from nothing into something, it's just live like you already have the thing you want. And it's amazing how when you do show up as I'm perfectly healthy or the world's best podcaster or whatever. I don't do that. I should probably start doing that. But like if you do show up like that, it's amazing how this energy and these opportunities and all these things kind of just come your way, right? And you can't act like, well, I really hope I get this. And it's that eagerness that sometimes I think pushes people away and it doesn't attract the thing. But if you're like, I am this, I am living like this, it then just kind of allows that energy, that circumstance to fall in your lap. And I love that you're kind of tapping into that.
100%. That's
Yeah.
exactly. It's like I have to live like I'm already healthy by making all of these choices and decisions. And also like calming the nervous system, because in a
Mm,
state of panic of, oh my gosh, I have stage 3 cancer and I'm dying and I'm so young and like whatever, going down that spiral's not going to help your body recover or help your immune system, because you're on fight or flight.
yep.
And how is your body supposed to heal when it is like trying to run away from something? And
Mhm,
so he helped ground me and kind of create a reality in which getting worse wasn't even an option. And
mhm,
living in that, and at parts I was like, what if this doesn't, in the beginning I'm like, what if this doesn't work? Like what if all the
mhm.
things I'm trying don't work? Like what do I do? And he was like, well, worst case, you die a lot happier. And I was like, you know what? That's actually so true. Why waste my last year of life just thinking about it not going well? I'd
Right.
rather do that and still do everything in my power to heal, but have a good mindset around it. And I'm going to truly like embrace this time. And that was huge because it I think the worst part, and one of the worst parts after diagnosis, is not knowing how to feel or think or what to do, and the chaos around the next step.
Mhm.
And that really grounded me in like, okay, I'm going to try all of these things, and even if I don't do them all perfect, it's okay because I'm trying. And
Yep.
as long as I do these things, and as long as I try my hardest to really just focus on myself and healing and thinking positively and feeling positively, then it's going to work out. And that just brought in a whole slew of things. And like as you said, you attract the right things, and I attracted during that time like EMDR to release a
Mm.
lot of this suppressed emotion that I've been suppressing all my life and get that out. And after that, too, with EMDR, you're like using somatic therapy to
Mhm.
release things you've been holding on to, whether that's like,
Right. It's like the trauma, micro traumas, even that
yes.
get stuck in your body. And we don't naturally focus on trying to work those things out. They get stuck there and then they're not out. And we're
Yeah.
also not taught how to move them out. Right. And not a lot of people, I should say, take the time to actually figure that out and to move it out. But you had this, in some ways, amazing opportunity to practice being the person you want and then to work on these things that might have been stuck there for decades.
Yes, and they were like I things would come up that I had just didn't even remember or recall, and it was so crazy. And
Yeah.
to going from a life of go, 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 where I don't even like remember the day because it was so busy, packed from like
Mm,
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night. It was
right.
all of a sudden, okay, I'm not working. I'm not doing anything. I'm living alone for like several months at a time. And I would just sit
Mm,
outside and feel everything that I hadn't been feeling for so long. And it was very much like a like your stillness. Now you have
mm.
to face all the things that you've been running from.
It hit you just like a train, huh?
Yes. And
Yeah.
before that, I was not someone to like show emotion that much or like cry
Mm,
ever. And then once I opened that realm, it was like my emotions shot up. I cried 3 times a day, every day for like a year and a half and
yeah.
almost 2 years. And then after that whole like, suppression, release, and then now I'm like back to normal and balanced.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
but I knew during that like crazy time that it was gonna be balanced emotionally.
Yeah, yeah. I give you so much props because I went through that too, and it's very hard. Like, I can only speak from it from like my perspective, but I feel like, and also from like I guess a male or a more male perspective, but it's like, I wasn't taught to like show emotions. I wasn't taught to like be able to cry. So I just didn't cry for years. Like it wasn't something that I thought I was allowed to do. It wasn't something that I thought I was capable of doing. I didn't think, yeah, it was something I should do. Right. And yes, coming back from the hospital, it was like all this loss that I was feeling, like the uncertainty, the fear, the loss, like yeah, it hit me like a ton of bricks too. And as somebody who never cried, like all of a sudden, any movie I would watch would make me cry. Like we were watching some Pixar movie because I was out of the hospital during COVID, and it would just like choke me up. I think even now, but it feels nicer. It feels lighter. It feels more
Yes.
balanced,
It's
and
real.
yeah, and it just makes you feel in some ways more alive too.
Absolutely. And I'm
Yeah.
curious too if you're open to kind of like what part of your personality has come out since after the big change you went through that maybe was there the whole time, but now just got
Yeah.
out in the open?
Probably a part of my personality, my wife and friends would probably want me to be back undercover, but like, I think, yeah, I think I'm more willing to speak up if I don't like something or if I don't think something is right. That's not something I would do. And I don't know if it's because I grew up, being half Asian, but also like growing up in an Asian predominant society. It's like you're very like kind of meek and shy and humble and all those things. And so speaking up was never something that I thought I wanted to do or felt like I needed to do. I'm like, that's for other people who are like audacious and big personality and all. But yeah, again, I think it was this culmination of things for me where I couldn't speak and then I felt like I should have said things and just kind of being a little bit more open. Everything I'm doing now with this podcast, I would have never done before my accident. There's no way I would have ever talked about mental health or depression or anxiety or different modalities of healing or even manifesting in some ways who you want to be. This stuff was in there. I was always interested about it, but I would have never publicly said anything to people because I would have been too ashamed.
And you found your voice.
Wow. I think I'm still finding it, but I think, yeah, more so. How does this then carry you through where you are today? Because you're so open to trying different things. And do you have anything in this process that you can put your finger on 100% like that's what helped? Or does it still feel like it's a combination of everything you've done?
Hmm. Well, there's this one instance of going to a hypnotherapist and just to try to go through the emotional components of it.
Mhm.
And my biggest takeaway from that was she was like, if you, no matter what treatment you choose, if you don't think something's gonna work, it's not gonna work. And
Yeah.
I believe that because whether that's on placebo's a real thing.
It
That's
is.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
I don't know if you listen to Hidden Brain, but they do an amazing episode about placebo. And it's like,
Yes.
even if people know the drug is fake, but you believe in the placebo effect, you still get better results.
Yeah.
Even if you know it's fake, it's just like, that's how powerful our mind is.
100%. And so if it's like, even if this medicine is like supposed to work and you're like, resisting it, then maybe subconsciously you're not going to take it as on time, or
Right.
or in your body it's going to reject it, all these things. And so
Mhm.
the believing in what I was doing was going to work is huge. And then like to the following my intuition of where, like, owning my own healing is like
Mhm.
number one, like not just going with whatever's easiest or what people are telling me, like truly everyone aside, what do I want to do, where do I want how do I want this to look like,
Mhm.
having that ownership is what helped me heal. And like one thing I guess that would work is, I mean, I do think it's trying everything. I do. Like it's really hard for me to pinpoint.
Mm.
And it's also really hard too to be like, "Hey guys, try everything." I
Right,
don't
right,
say that ever. I'm like, just look into everything and see what you think's gonna
right.
have a effect.
Yeah, I love that. I think to me that speaks farther, or I guess it speaks in this powerful way beyond even healing too. Like I feel like because of that experience that you went through, but also like I feel like I had some of that in my own life. They're like, hey, we can do this surgery for you, or this is one option we can do, or whatever. Um, I was just kind of open to it to see if it could make my life better. And I think it's now for me translated in places outside of my life, whether it's like how I look at life or how I look at situations, or, because we get so funneled into how we're taught to think, and then we reinforce how we think by our brain, and it finds evidence for this has got to be right. And you're like, this is the only way. But is it? It's just because it's worked for you in the past. Is it the only way? And I think that thought process for me has kind of expanded even beyond just healing and health.
1,000%. And
Yeah.
questioning, like you said, like, is it like everything in life? Is this what I wanted? Is this where I go? Is this who I am?
Right.
Everything, just you have that pause in this, like you're going about life, something huge happens to you, like it did for you, and you get a chance to reassess everything, especially because what you went through was during COVID, where everyone was reassessing everything anyway. And you got that
Yes.
extra layer of reassessment through what happened
Totally.
in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, and it also allowed me to kind of see how everybody else was internalizing their struggles, or I guess even externalizing it, like putting it out in the world, how they were talking about the things that were hard, and me trying to heal up from like all these burns and everything. It was like, oh wow, they're kind of feeling like how I'm feeling, even though like physically on the outside, everybody can see how messed up I am. But yeah, it was this amazing lesson in, is there other things out there? My whole perspective changed. It sounds like your perspective, even though you were open to it, I guess, what did change for you in this process? Because you seemed like a pretty open person before the diagnosis and then going through treatment.
Like what in my what about me
Yeah.
changed?
Like personality
Oh,
wise, like thought process,
dude,
everything.
so much. Before I was definitely like the do everything and be a people pleaser and like never rest. Like
Mm,
rest wasn't even my vocabulary in a way. And not like I lost that trust with myself. And after now, like nowadays, I have that relationship with myself because I had to intentionally rest for so long to
right.
heal, and now it's like I'll never lose that. So that's carving out time, like it's your most important meeting, to
Mhm.
just chill and to
Yeah.
just like restore. And now it's very like saying no is really easy for me. Before it was like
Mm,
I can't say no because that's I'm gonna disappoint people or I'm gonna fail, and I was
right.
just like
What if I
worry,
never get this
anxiety.
opportunity again?
100%. And like
Yeah.
now it's like I dude, honestly, I'm just happy to be alive. So everything else is a bonus. And it's, I mean, I had that gratitude before, but it's just like a different, like I'm grateful just to exist versus get to do everything that I want all the time,
Right.
and enjoy being here. And I think that being in touch with my emotions is also like such a big thing for me now,
Mhm.
and like quality over quantity, with just like I had 9 million friends before, and now people that I see on a weekly basis has gone down to like a handful, because it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's exhausting to me, what causes me stress, like honestly,
Mm.
I can't have that much stress, or I get sick. And like I just
Mm.
this reaction, I'm so in tune now to what my triggers are, like just I'm so sensitive. And I I didn't used to be sensitive. I would brush off everything, but I really wasn't brushing it off. And
Right,
also
right. You were storing it.
I was storing it. And then
Yeah.
also I was like 1,000% extrovert. And now I'm like a 20% extrovert, because I think
That's yeah,
yeah.
that's so funny you mentioned that. Yeah, everybody my whole life would have said I was an extrovert, but I think I guess there's like a new term now, like an ambivert or something, where you're not an
Mm,
extrovert, you're not an introvert. But I feel that because
mm,
all of a sudden, you give so much and you're around so many people and you have to give, right? You have to, or you're just receiving what they're giving to you. And again, that has to go somewhere. You can't just store that. So yes, I so agree with you when you go through something, at least as an extrovert, you need that time to kind of process it, process how you feel about it, process that energy. Because I think, all interactions, all words, like there's this energy that's there. And whether you realize it or not, it can weigh on you. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's a funny similarity, I think.
And hot take a little bit, but I feel like extroverts are running from something. Like,
Mm,
genuinely, because they're
interesting.
distracting themselves with being around people all the time, where they don't have a chance to feel what they're actually going through, and they're experiencing their inner world that may be not as joyful as this out external time.
Yeah,
And maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like I've met a lot of people like that as well, where it's like
true.
they don't want to feel their own experience.
Yeah, true. I think it's a side effect of being an extrovert. I don't know if it's necessarily
Mm,
everybody who is running from something, but I do see that a lot with people who are extroverted. But while also I think there's like a negative side effect to being too much of an introvert, right? Like you
yeah.
don't necessarily like open yourself up to amazing opportunities or amazing relationships. So I
Mm,
think that's when you go too far on the end of the spectrum.
mhm.
And yeah, but I think it's a good thing to call out. I gotta agree with you there. This is amazing. I mean, I think you've reminded me so much of the lessons I learned through my experience, and something you went through is just I don't know how you did it. And people say that to me all the time, but I really feel that about you. And I'm just because of how bright you are, because of how light you handle this, and just the amazing things that you've overcome. It's just really incredible. So I think that brings me to where are you at now? And yeah, what's going on with you currently?
Thank you for those very kind words. Well,
No,
very
sure.
nice. um, so currently, because it was like, learning to have that connection with myself, that trust with myself, all these things, it's like I got to tap into my true desire, right? And what I
Hmm.
actually want if no one else is involved. And that was like documentary producing. It was
Mm.
huge as soon as I was having the fatigue fade away a little bit and felt like I could get back to doing and contributing and stuff. It
Hmm.
was like I want to do documentary work, especially because at a pivotal part of my journey of figuring out what I wanted to do, I
Hmm.
watched two different documentaries that completely changed the trajectory of my journey, and like
Wow.
how I thought about healing and how I thought about health and cancer and all of these things. And
Yeah.
so
Do you remember what those documentaries were?
yeah, there
Yeah.
was so Heal was one of them,
Okay.
and it really they interviewed like the woman who wrote Radical Remission. So she interviewed like
Okay.
hundreds of people who radically went into remission from cancer, and talked about all of the similarities among them,
Wow.
and what got them to heal. And that
Yeah.
was huge. And also the kind of like the science behind healing, and how it's such a personal journey, all of those things. And then the
Hmm.
other documentary was The Source Within You. And so that was the documentary on the UCSD and Joe Dispenza collaboration that showed
Ooh.
all this impossible, like
Miraculous
impossible,
healing
miraculous
and
healing, all of these
yeah.
things that really let me believe that there was another route to go. So
Mhm.
those were the two, but there was many more, but I
Mhm.
feel like those two spoke to me the most.
Yeah.
And so after that, I got connected to Matt and Leia, who we have shared connections with,
Yeah.
and they took a chance on me, even though I had zero producing experience, to train me and to allow me to do the thing that I was that I only had interest in.
Yeah.
And I
Awesome.
am doing that now. So I'm so grateful to be in the documentary world and have a cancer podcast as well, where I just kind of go through what I wish I knew as soon as I got diagnosed, whether that's like how to tell people you have cancer or
Mhm.
how to pay for it and how to rely on community and all of these things, while
Mhm.
looking at the different treatment modalities that to complement conventional care or be an alternative, like
Yeah.
just expanding that view. And now it's just like living a slower, more in tune life.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's tough because you went through this really hard thing, but now I think that there's some positives that have come out of it for you, and you're stronger in a lot of ways. You're maybe happier in some ways. You're definitely more in tune with what your soul was searching for, I think, probably before, and you're doing it. That's great. It's
Thank you
amazing.
for the yes, I genuinely I know that I'm like the happiest and healthiest I've ever been. And I didn't think it would take a cancer diagnosis to get there, but at least I'm here.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I made it.
You definitely did. Yeah. And I think you're giving back to the world too, and in this powerful way using your story. It's amazing. And I think this is what this podcast is all about, which I truly appreciate. So I ask everybody two questions as we end this. Yeah, can I fire them at you?
Yeah, let's
You've been able to
go.
handle everything else so far and given so much more than my questions have even asked. So thank you for that. But the first question is, what is currently giving you the most amount of peace?
Knowing that I'm living in alignment. Is it like a short answer too?
It's whatever answer you feel
Okay, yeah,
I
that's
love
I
that.
feel good. I'm gonna lock that in.
I love it. Can I ask a follow-up
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
What is making you feel like you're in alignment? Like, how do you know you're in alignment?
Mm. I feel like before I would have these sensations of being like, oh, this I should be doing this, or like,
Mm,
this is just the right thing or whatever, very logically and very like for other people sort of thing. And
yeah.
now it's like I know exactly what I want, and I'm willing to pivot. Because before it was like, even stopping my last company, I had so much fear around doing that. Like I
Mhm.
was so terrified of not running my company anymore and letting down my co-founder, letting down everyone within the company and our owners and all of these things, that I was like, I can't leave ever, like whatever.
Right. I'm stuck here
I'm
now.
stuck
Yeah.
here. And now it's like, even if it's really hard,
Mhm.
I have to suck it up and do the hard thing, because I know it's going to amount to the right path. And so it's like moving past that fear and that uncomfortability to pursue what that inner voice is telling you.
Yeah, that inner calling.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
I trust myself to listen to that, whereas before I'd be like, yeah, whatever the loudest voice is saying, that's what I'll do. And
totally.
it's really like I have that connection with myself now.
Yeah. I feel like when you go through a moment of like actual survival, you stop, like the outside world's decisions don't feel like survival anymore. And you're like, listen, letting some people down or letting or not being able to do this or whatever is not as bad as me trying to like stuff down this thing that I'm lucky to have again, which
Yeah.
is like being connected to my purpose and being driven by something, more powerful than I am. Like that's so special. So yeah, I love that you're keying in on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So last question is, what's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody going through their hardest moment right now?
Dang, drum roll for someone else's answer right now. Okay, let's see. Hard advice for hardest moment.
Yeah, like somebody who just found out they got the diagnosis that you got. And
Mm.
yeah, what's one thing you would tell them?
You're the only person that can make these decisions, honestly. Like that's what
Mm,
I would tell them. Like, it's not about anyone else. In order to save your own life, it has to be coming from you. You're the
mm,
only person who are, and I don't want it to sound lonely or isolating, but
right.
it's more empowering.
Empowering. Yeah.
Yes, like don't wait to feel empowered. Don't wait for something bad to happen to you to feel empowered. It's like feel that empowerment now, and during this like hardest moment, to be like, you know what? Maybe all of these things that have happened to me throughout my life was preparing me for this moment. And I can now step into, without any reservation, what I want this to look like, and taking that ownership, taking that accountability, and taking that we have so much power and we have so much potential, and it's time. Like if the hardest moments right now, it's time to lock in
Mm,
and choose yourself and really go in order to change your external circumstances. Like I it's so individual, and
mm,
connecting to yourself is like the number one ticket to anywhere for
yeah.
sure.
I
So taking ownership and realizing that it's not, it doesn't I guess it doesn't really help that much to only think of the worst case scenario. Like
Yeah, okay.
you gotta believe and envision the best case scenario and live that and
Yes, I
see
love
what
that.
happens.
I love this saying that says, if you can overthink the worst, why don't you try overthinking the best?
Yes, and it's harder for
Oh,
sure.
it's
It's
yeah, we're designed, or at least I think our brains are designed to find the danger, to find the negative, to find the hard thing.
yeah.
It's a lot harder to find the happy, the positive, the growth.
Yes.
And you have it in spades. You've done it. You've lived it. Yes, I really appreciate that. I think it's both beautiful answers. Taking ownership of your situation, doing the hard work to confront, not to run away from your emotions or the
Yeah.
bad feelings, and yes, try to lock in on what truly matters to you.
Yes, and like
Yeah.
taking a deep breath and realizing that you have more time than you think. Like not to rush into something
Right.
because you feel like you're on a timeline. Like even
Mm,
just taking a couple days or a couple weeks to figure out what you want to do is totally okay, no matter how pressing everything feels. Because when
mm,
you're like diagnosed with something, it's like, make a decision right now or
mm.
you're gonna die. And it's more like, dude,
Yeah.
just take a beat so that you are making the right decision.
Right.
So like that time is so crucial.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree
Okay.
more. I really feel that. All right. Well, that was such a wonderful answer. You've been full of just wonderful insight, and just you're such an incredible person. I love how you've just kind of transformed everything you've gone through into something that's like directed you on this better path. Where can people find you? Where can they support you?
Thank you. Genuinely like enjoy talking to you so much. I feel like I'm like it's already over. That flew by in such a good way.
Okay.
But where they can find me is
Yeah.
on for the podcast. It's What I Wish I Knew Cancer
Mhm.
Podcast, and then for the documentary company, it's Sundoc Studios. And people can just I don't know reach out, email me too if they're in a tough situation or want community and all of that stuff. So.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Can I give you a hug? Let's
Yes, of
let's yeah.
course.
Because that was so amazing. All right. Let's
Thank
get
you
it on.
so much.
Yeah. If this episode hit home for you, like, share, and subscribe, and drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. I'd love to hear what you thought about McKenna's story and what it meant to you. And make sure to follow McKenna on social media and check out her podcast, What I Wish I Knew. She's doing incredible work over there. So take care of yourself, if you can, someone else, and keep exploring the bright side to life's darkest moments. Aloha.